Shut up and sit down.
Hola, bienvenidos una vez más a Pláticas de Peso. Hoy tenemos una invitada internacional, dirían. Viene desde Italia, es una persona que ha encontrado como una especie de hack para las dietas, tratando con hormonas, cambiando el mindset, eh, liberando a las personas de este efecto yo-yo de las dietas que suben y bajan. Y la verdad es que está súper interesante todo el proyecto que ella trae. Trae muchos pacientes con muy buenos resultados. Así que la entrevista hoy será en inglés. Van a tener subtítulos aquí. No puede ser ni en italiano porque ya no me acuerdo del italiano de la prepa, pero hi, how are you, Alice? Welcome to Pláticas de Peso. How are you?
Hi, Jumpy. Thank you so much for having me. I'm good, thank you. I'm sorry for not speaking Spanish. That's my fault.
No, don't worry. I don't speak Italian and no one is complaining.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna go with English. So yeah.
Exactly. The only thing that I speak in Italian is the thing that break the diet, like pizza, ravioli, and pasta, and everything that we speak in Italian.
Yeah, I love that. I know gazpacho. I don't know if that's a Spanish word, I guess.
It's Spanish from Spain.
Yeah. Oh, you're not. You're right. You're not from Spain, so
Yeah.
yeah. So
I'm Mexican. We share the same flag.
yeah.
Almost the same flag.
Yeah, my one of my closest friends now lives in Mexico, and she tells me every single time it's beautiful there. She lives in the capital basically, and she tells me it's absolutely beautiful. She was from California and moved there,
Okay.
so yeah, it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
She's wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also live in Mexico City, so
Yeah.
maybe someday I get to know your friend.
Yeah, I don't know because she's moving to near the ocean. So she went like to Mexico City for like 6 months or so, and now she's moving.
Oh.
So yes, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's a mix
better
of
near
culture.
the ocean always.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to tell a little bit of how I found you on Instagram, and it's obviously because the Instagram algorithm it starts putting me people in front that talk about diet, talk about healthy lifestyle, making exercise and everything. And one of those days I saw Alice in my Instagram, and she was talking about hormones and how the mindset helps you to lose weight and everything. So I just wanted to ask, have you ever had trouble with dieting or have you always been healthy?
So actually, I have troubles with my weight for 17 years almost since I was 6, basically. So yeah, that's always been a big part of my journey. So this yo-yo dieting thing that's happening and getting in diets, on diets, and getting out the diets. So that's basically what's happened to me for 17 years. So after that, basically what I discovered is I first discovered the ketogenic diet through YouTube. I was looking for ways to lose weight without dieting, and I found the ketogenic diet first. Then I made some researches about it and actually made a lot of studies about keto and cancer, how keto can help cure cancer or tumors. So that was really interesting, actually. And then from there, it was like a journey of discovering hormones and mindset. So it's been a journey, actually.
How much weight have you lost since you started doing this?
So in those 17 years, I gained and lost over 100 pounds. So my maximum weight was 200, and my lowest was 140, which is like actually 120, which is like 60 kilograms. So after getting off the diet and just rebalancing my hormones, I lost 40 pounds, which is like 25 kilograms.
20 kilos.
Yes.
Yeah. We can talk in kilos if you want, if it's easier for you.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, only Americans talk in pounds.
Yeah, I have most of my followers are from America, so I started to talk in pounds and then my metric is completely off the crack. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. I just divide in half, and that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, so there was a time that you were really, really thin, but I suppose you weren't healthy enough.
Yeah, like I was anorexic actually. I was 12.
Okay.
I was doing ballet, and people started to bully me for because I was taller and heavier than others. And so I decided to stop eating and just run every single day. And I lost like 10 kilograms in 1 month. And like it's not a lot, but like for me, it was very little. So it was a lot of my body. So yes, I became anorexic basically.
Okay, and how long did you battle with this anorexic disease?
So anorexia was like 2 years, and then I had, I think, 5 years of binge eating. Actually, it was like a back and
Okay.
forth. Yes.
And I suppose, like everyone that has some overweight, you went to thousands of doctors and thousands of diets and Googled the best diet and everything. Or did you just binge eat and had the results that you had?
Yeah. No, I've been to multiple doctors for every single thing that I had. So I first went to nutritionists and dietitians, and they gave me like this caloric. It when I was anorexic, they gave me like caloric surplus diet, right? But there was still calories involved, and for me, it was like a trigger, because like when you see, oh, I need to eat that amount of calories and carbs, like for me, I was associating carbs with getting fat, or
Yes.
fats with getting fat, right? So for me that was a trigger, and I was, for example, hiding bread in my purse so my parents don't couldn't see me like eating bread, right? But
Yeah, yeah.
in my head, like I was eating. So yeah, that was the first thing. Then when I started to gain more and more weight, I think I gained like 40 kilograms after being anorexic in like 3 months or so. And that was the biggest hit for me because like I went from being really, really thin to being like basically obese, right? So after that, I went to other nutritionists and dietitians, and all gave me a caloric deficit diet, which of course didn't work. And I also developed IBS. I don't know if you know what it is.
No, no, no.
It's like so it's the acronym for wait, I think it's like something with the bowel. It's like when you have the bowel syndrome and it's irritated, basically. So
Okay.
everything that you're eating, it gives you bloating. It also gave me
Oh,
panic
okay.
attacks and things like that. And I went to multiple doctors and stuff like holistic practitioner. Nothing helped. And so I've been able to get rid of this just by natural healing, so rebalancing hormones with proper lifestyle. I don't know, lifestyle changes like looking at the sun when you wake up or doing a weekly or daily walk, right? Some things that are really simple, but I think make the most impact on someone's life, especially if you're someone who struggled with eating disorders as well, because you're able to switch the focus from calories to something else. So instead of focusing on calories and how much you need to eat, you're focusing on what to eat and how you're eating that food. So that what made the biggest impact on me.
Yeah, just what you just have said, it's very important not to set the mind in my weight and my weight goal, but instead we should aim to a new lifestyle, a new to get better choices, to make better decisions regarding food, regarding movement and exercise and body love, not necessarily uh, getting settled with the body I have, but loving my body no matter how it is.
Yeah, like you know what? It's actually difficult to do this because, like, if you're obese or if you're overweight, of course you don't like your body, right? So it's very difficult to love yourself when you're not how you want yourself to be. Like I guess so. Like when I was obese, I hated my body, even though people outside were telling me you're beautiful the way you are, or just love your body. Like it's difficult, right? So I
Yes.
think the biggest impact is to actually understand that you need to acknowledge your situation. So if you're fat, you're just fat. Like, you can't blame it on, oh, my bones are big, or like, I don't know, I need to be beautiful so I can eat whatever I want. Like, I can just tell myself I'm beautiful, even though you deeply feel you're not. So I think it's really important to, yes, say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna to view myself as beautiful, but also like to acknowledge I'm in this situation, I'm fat, obese, so I'm gonna do something about it. So that's something I think it's the most important, especially with the body positivity movement, right? Like, people are telling you,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, because it's not only living with obesity, but uh, it's loving your body, not because you love the shape of it, because you love the things that it allows you to do.
yeah,
So it's a thin line, it's a thin difference between loving your shape and loving to buy an 3XL shirt, but loving the, oh, even though my weight is up, even though that I live with obesity, I can walk, I can move, I can do everything. And then you start appreciating the little things that your body lets you do.
yeah,
So
absolutely.
uh, when you found this diet on Google, no, YouTube, sorry, when you found it on YouTube, when did you know it was the right fit for you? And when did you get to know the results that, oh, this is working? Not because I only lost weight, because all the diets, if you do them correctly, you lose weight in some time.
Yeah.
But when did you acknowledge that you weren't regaining the weight, you weren't, you were more healthy? How did you realize all this?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. So I was coming from low fat diets for 17 years. Like, I thought in my head, fats will make me fat, right? So going on a ketogenic
That is
diet
the
with,
enemy.
yeah, going on a ketogenic diet, which is like all fat and no carb, was actually a really big mindset switch for me. So I think the most important part was understanding the science behind it, like the biochemically speaking, what's happening when you enter ketosis, right? Which is like your fat burning state. So the thing that really made the biggest impact for me was seeing and feeling how I felt. Because before, I was sleepy all the time during the day. I didn't have the energy. Even though I was eating so much, right? So many carbs, I didn't have the energy. When I switched instead to eating mostly fats, I was, that mental clarity that you get when you, for example, it's 2 p.m. in the afternoon and you just finished lunch. Most people will just go to bed and take a nap. I have the biggest energy there because my body functions on fats and not on carbs, which again doesn't mean I'm not eating carbs every single day, or I'm not enjoying, I don't know, pizza or sushi, whatever, right? But that means that you love yourself so much that you understand there's something better for you to do than just cut your calories or eat certain macros or something. So for me, it was mental clarity. I didn't lose that much weight the first time, but really was like mental clarity, and also like the physical energy to do things like doing multiple sports per day. Like, I was doing ballet, working out, and also walking, and I love doing these things. So for me, it wasn't like a pressure to do these things. So yes, the energy to do all of these things, and also um, like the fact that I knew I could eat, like, for example, eggs with butter, right? Like butter. Like, for me, it was a lot. Like, you can eat butter, you can eat mayonnaise, you can eat olive oil without worrying about it. So I felt completely free. If that's a word that I could use, it's food freedom. I felt food freedom for the first time in 20 years of life. So I think that's the biggest shift that happened to me. I don't know if you ever tried the ketogenic diet as well.
Yeah, but my cardiologist didn't recommend it because I have a disease that spikes tachycardia in my
Hmm.
heart, and I'm not supposed to be in keto a long time. But it definitely, it's the, like, the holy grail of the diets, because your body starts making like magic. You will explain us later what the magic is, but your cells start responding different. Your your mind gets clearer. Uh, a lot of different things start changing. But my real concern when I first started doing with keto, and now for you, the question is it sustainable to live without carbs and just with fat?
That's actually a question that I ask every single day. So that's also why I developed my specific fat burning method. So basically, my story with keto is that I tried the conventional ketogenic diet that you see online for a year. So I was skipping breakfast, not eating carbs at all for a year. I was living on fats and stuff. So for me, it worked, right, for some time. But then what happened is that I started gaining weight again. That's because I didn't allow myself to control my hormones. I was just doing keto and just following random advice on the internet about the ketogenic diet, which again, they can work for a while, but it's not the long-term strategy. Instead, when I started doing ketogenic diet plus rebalancing hormones at the same time, I lost 40 pounds in, I guess, 5 months. It's now 3 years
Okay.
ago, and I've been able to maintain the weight loss. That's because I made this switch. So, first of all, the conventional ketogenic diet focuses just on how many fats you can eat and how many carbs you can eat. So, they usually will tell you skip breakfast, drink coffee instead, right? But this creates the biggest hormonal imbalance, which is called leptin resistance. Because when you skip breakfast, your body doesn't understand what time of the day it is. So the amount of cortisol that you produce is 10 times higher than if you were to eat a breakfast, for example. So, like little switch like this, like instead of skipping breakfast, you eat a fatty protein breakfast. Or, for example, instead of completely eliminating carbs from your diet, you have 1 or 2 meals per week when you eat some carbs, and you can decide whether to eat like conventional carbs like pizza or pasta or sushi, whatever you want, or even like healthier carbs like local carbs like, I don't know, rice or potatoes. So there are a lot of benefits actually in making this. It's called carb cycling in the jargon word,
Yeah.
which is basically like you're going into ketosis and out of ketosis really, really quickly. So for women, this is a really good strategy. For men, it really depends on what someone's goal is. Because, like, if you're a bodybuilder, right, and your goal is to build a lot of muscles, then you may need to eat more carbs. But instead, if your goal is to just lose the weight and keep it off and maintain a lifestyle, then a low carb approach is the best thing, I think, for me and for others to do. I've seen the most results with this and also with my clients as well. Because, like, if you're eating carbs every single day, that can work for a while, but still you don't have the mental clarity that you would have if you were to just have 1 or 2 meals per week of high carb.
Exactly. And you were talking something very, very important, that it's the hormones. For example, you were talking about leptin, that it's the hormone that helps us to decide that if we are full or not,
Mm-hmm.
that if we are satisfied or not. So when these disbalances start, your body doesn't know if you're on risk of dying of hunger or if you had enough food. So uh, how does keto help us to balance this leptin hormone and the counterpart of the ghrelin, and you mentioned the
The cortisol.
cortisol. Yeah, thank you. You
Yeah.
mentioned the cortisol. Why does this affect the cortisol? That is the stress hormone, by the way. Why does this affect the stress?
Yeah, like, so the things to say, there's a lot of things to say about this. So to keep it really simple and short, basically, leptin is your satiety hormone. So it tells your brain when you're eating, right? And you're eating the right amount, it tells your brain, okay, we're full, stop eating. That's just one thing that leptin does. The other thing that leptin does is, for example, at 12 a.m., leptin docks into the hypothalamus, which is something that you have here in your brain, and basically tells your brain, okay, brain, we have this amount of body fat, we have this amount of food stored, we have this amount of glucose stored. So tomorrow you'll need to eat this, and this amount to be able to either lose some body fat or keep with some body fat, like store some body fat. What happens with people that have leptin resistance, which is the majority of people who skip breakfast, who like have these cortisol issues, like they look at their phone in the morning, or they have these stressful jobs, or many other things. What happens is that your brain doesn't understand how much body fat you have. So for your brain, you have zero body fat and you just need to put on even more body fat. So that's why you can still do a diet, right? But you'll never be able to lose weight. So that's what leptin does. Now, the connection with the ketogenic diet and leptin is through insulin. Because if you do a low carb approach, you're also able to control the insulin. And insulin is like works in sync with leptin. If insulin is high, then leptin needs to be low. Otherwise, leptin cannot dock into the hypothalamus. And with cortisol, the thing is that leptin is also a circadian hormone. So circadian hormones are the little clocks you have in your body that basically tell, okay, it's, for example, right now it's like 4 p.m., right? My time. So my body knows that it's 4 p.m. my time. So when you have leptin resistance, you also have cortisol issues. So for your body, for example, 8 a.m. in the morning, if you're skipping breakfast, for your body, it's 1 p.m. in June, right? So the amount of cortisol that you produce is greater if your body doesn't understand what time of the day it is. That's why you need to rebalance leptin first, because leptin then will control the cortisol and the amount of cortisol that you produce. And if you control the cortisol, then insulin is controlled. So it's like a cycle that never ends. And if just one thing is imbalanced, then you're breaking the cycle. I don't know
Okay.
if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense to me. That I have heard all the terms. Yeah, I don't know if the people that is listening to the podcast and watching the podcast have any doubts, but if they do, they can write them, and we can help them clarify all their doubts. But as you were mentioning, the cortisol and the circadian cycle and everything. What happens with the sleep? Does this affect also my hormones and my dieting success?
Yes, absolutely. I found that the majority of people who have weight loss problems have also sleep problems. So they wake up multiple times during the night, or they're never tired before going to bed, but they're always sleepy during the day, right? And they cannot wake up on time, or they can wake up maybe like at 5 a.m. They are hungry and then they went back to sleep, or they feel this super hunger before going to bed. So they have these midnight cravings, basically. So these are just some signs that you are leptin resistant. Or the other sign that I see most of the times is that they're not hungry for breakfast. And just the idea of eating something makes them nauseous.
Yes, or you wake with a lot of hunger and you eat everything that you don't need to eat in
Yeah.
breakfast. You stuff with yourself with carbohydrates, with cereals, with
Hmm.
milk, and everything that you don't have to eat at breakfast.
Yeah, you have sugar
But
cravings a lot.
exactly, and the sugar cravings are the worst because they spike your insulin needs and they suddenly push it to the floor. So, uh, how do you manage to control these spikes of insulin with food, being in a keto diet, for example? For me, the keto diet, I'm not allowed to eat, for example, fruit, and I
Hmm.
suppose you eat fruit. So,
So, yeah, so this goes back to, so I cannot talk about insulin without talking about leptin, because like fruit, like for example, with keto, people think they have a certain amount of carbs to eat per day, otherwise they're gonna get out of ketosis, which is true, right? You have a certain amount of carbs that your body can use, otherwise you're gonna get out of ketosis. But this is different for every single one of us. So if someone is telling you, oh, you just need to eat 20 grams of carbs, is not true. It really depends on the amount of leptin resistance that you have, on the amount of hormonal imbalance that you have, and also how many carbs are you used to eat, right? So the thing with keto and insulin is that by following a low carb lifestyle, so for example, you're just eating veggies as your carb or some berries, and you're not eating oranges or apples or rice. You're just eating veggies and berries. They have the lowest spike on the blood sugar, therefore on insulin. So that's something you can totally do to manage your insulin. But if you want to carb cycling, for example, and you want to add more carbs into your diet just to see how your body reacts, you need to pay attention to the type of food that you're eating. For example, if you want to add some fruit, but you live in Canada, right, and you're eating a banana, for your body, eating a banana in Canada in January has no sense because bananas do not grow in Canada, for example, right? So your circadian hormones, so the little clocks, will become imbalanced, even though you're following all the tips, like you're doing keto, you're low carb and everything, even then, if you're eating something that's not local or not seasonal, then your body becomes imbalanced again. So little things like this you need to pay attention to. So you need to find local or seasonal carbs to eat. Like, for example, in my country, in winter, I have potatoes, I have some beans, I have oranges, apples, actually, and things like that. So I don't like eating fruit, but for some people, it can be a great option if they want to add some carbs.
Okay. So you're saying that you need to adapt your diet to the place that you live and to your lifestyle. It's not only following one recipe for all and that will work.
Yeah, exactly. That's why when you like, I got so many comments like, why can't I just go on Pinterest, for example, and download a ketogenic meal plan, right? That's the reason, because it's like, it's not a one size fits all. You need to adapt the things that you're learning to your own lifestyle, to where you live, to what job you're doing, whatever, right? Because every single one of us is different. So I always like to say that the principles are the same, but the way in which you apply the principles are different for every single one of us.
Yes. And how do you overcome uh, the fear of regaining this weight? Because I have found a lot of people in this podcast that they say, I don't know, I lost 30 kilos, 40 kilos, 5 kilos, but I don't want to regain it. So what I'm doing is stop eating again. So I intermittent fasting, or I don't know, not eating after 6 p.m. or
Yeah.
whatever. I believe the body is not made for fasting. So how to overcome this fear of regaining weight without getting into fasting?
So this is actually a really interesting question, and it has two answers from my point. So the first one is the fact that if you've lost the weight and now you're fearing of gaining the weight back, it's because you haven't listened to your body the whole time. So you don't know what works for you, what doesn't work, and also how you're feeling when you're doing something versus something else. Like for me, I lost 40 pounds 3 years ago. And since then, I've been able to go to eat to restaurants every single week without gaining the weight back. Why? Because I know how my body works, what works for my body. So for example, if I'm eating carbs every single day, I tried it for 6 months. I try to eat carbs every single day, like a normal person, for 6 months. I gained 10 pounds, like 5 kilos back. Now I completely lost them again. So that was completely different from what I was doing and that I knew was working for me, which for me is like a low carb approach and then carb cycling whenever I need to. That's what works for me. I had a client that was like, for me, it just worked 2 meals of high carb per week. So if she had 3 meals, that was too much for her, right? So every single person is different. So if you have this fear, it's because you haven't understood how your body works and also what works for your body. So the biggest thing is that cutting or eating less again is not the strategy. You need to first understand what works for you in a way that rebalances your hormones as well. That's the first answer. The second answer is a more mindset answer. So if you have fear or if you have any type of negative emotion towards weight loss, that means your mindset needs an adjustment. And that's something that I've been trained to do with NLP techniques, so like neuro-linguistic programming. I needed to be certified in that, and I wanted to be certified in that because clients, when they come to you, they will tell you, oh, weight loss will never happen for me. Like, weight loss is just hard for me, right? And if they tell this to another coach, they will be like, no, it's not. Like, why are you saying that? Instead, if they come to me and they say things like this, I understand, oh, it's just a limiting decision, like a limiting belief. And we can totally get rid of that. Same thing with fear. It's a negative emotion. So why do you have this negative emotion, right? Maybe it's because you think, oh, losing weight is hard for me, or as I'm losing the weight, I'm going to regain it all back. These are just things that happen in your mindset, which you can totally lose the weight. You can totally like reverse your obesity or whatever hormonal imbalance you have. But I've seen with every single one of my clients, if they have any fear or sadness or depression or any type of mindset issues, then they'll regain the weight back every single time. It doesn't matter if your hormones are imbalanced or not. You need to do both a mindset work and a hormonal work.
Yeah, and habit change, and that affects the mindset. But to the person or to the people that have been trying diets for a long time and they even are afraid of dieting, uh, talking about mindset and believing that they will lose weight and they're not part of the problem, but the diet itself, it may sound like kind of a witchcraft to trust on your mind to lose weight, because after all, it's all about the food you get in. So, how do you conceal or how do you convince your patient that they really have to put a new mindset to lose weight? It's not only the food you eat, but the beliefs you have towards the food.
So I don't convince anyone. That's why I think my clients get the most results. Because what we do is I use their words and allow them to change their internal representation of the word. Because every single one of us has a certain specific internal representation. So, for example, for me, losing weight is really simple. I know if I gain 2 kilos, I will lose them in 1 week or so because I know what works for me. For someone else, losing weight is really hard, right? So when I use these specific NLP techniques and we talk through this, I'm just asking questions because like I'm really curious and I really want to understand what's the problem for every single one of my clients. So that's why I'm not convincing them. I'm like, they know that if they're not losing weight and they're doing all the things correctly, there's something else, right? So I'm just allowing them to see there's something else, right? And if someone understand, okay, I'm doing this and this and this, and it's not working, why is not working? Am I different? Like, I don't think people are different than others. I think you just have things that are happening that you can totally work on and heal, but you need to first be aware of this, right? So that's basically what and how I'm doing with the clients.
Exactly. And we always have to remember that obesity is a disease. So in every person works in different ways. So what you eat is not the same that what Alice eats. It doesn't affect her in the same way that it would affect me. But you also have to remember that it's a treatment. It's not a diet that you have to do. It's a chronic disease, so you have to go a long way, a very long way, to see the definite results. Because if you focus on, I don't know, 3 week diet for the wedding you have, or a month diet before your 50th birthday or anything, you will regain the weight because your body is only fasting for a month. So after all, it will regain the fat that you have.
Yeah.
So how to, I don't know, to adopt this new lifestyle without thinking on the weight itself or being weight centric?
So I think it's actually really simple. You need to stop thinking about calories at all or macros. Like literally, people will say, "Oh yes, I'm not, I'm not thinking about calories." Yet they are putting all the information on my fitness pal or like putting all these things onto apps that count how many calories or how many or what macros are they eating. And so your mind will always be focused on that. So if you want to get rid of this diet mentality, you first need to eliminate any source that may come from calories or macros or even like any conventional dieting strategies. So that's first step for sure. Then you want to learn about how your body actually works. So we already know that calories in versus calories out is a really narrow mindset, a narrow-minded strategy. I guess some people really preach it, but I don't know how they can preach it because it doesn't really work. And if it works for like 1 week or two, then you're gonna gain the weight back. That's for sure. Instead, if you're learning, because like I think actually it's really simple. You need to think about we are humans, so we have like 100,000 years of evolution as humans, right? So for 100,000 years, we've been eating animal fats and proteins. We've lived outside in nature. We've slept when it was dark and woke up when it was sunny, basically. And right now, we're doing the complete opposite. We're eating high carb and mostly sugars, like processed foods. We're eating no fat or vegetable proteins or whatever, and we're living inside. So these things, of course, are the opposite of what we've been doing as the human species for 100,000 years. So it's actually really simple. It's not that all of us needs to go outside and live in the forest. It's not what I'm saying, but you need to get in touch with your nature, basically. So live a healthier and more natural lifestyle, which is like for most of us sounds like also like opening the window 3 times during the day and just look outside for 10 seconds or 20. Like it's as simple as that. You don't need to go and live in a forest or whatever. So yeah, I think these are the two most important steps that someone can take.
Yeah, and remember that humans, I don't know, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, they had to walk. They didn't choose to walk. They had to walk to get their meal, their food, to go to their homes, and everything, because there was no transport, there was no subway, bicycles, or whatever. So walking is your best ally. You don't have to run a marathon every week. You just have to walk every day. This
Yeah.
will activate your hormone cycle again. Am I right or am I wrong?
No, you're completely right. I actually forgot to say that. But yes, when I lost 40 pounds, the only workout I was doing was walking every day. I wasn't running, right? I was just walking. So walking really is amazing for anything. And I think for the people that are listening to us, if you want to walk, make sure you're walking outside and not in a gym on a treadmill. Um, so you're getting even more benefits with the sun and the energy from the outside.
Yeah, wear sunblock, but walk outside, and
Yeah.
it really changes your mindset. When when I walk, even if I don't want to, my stress levels get super low
Yeah.
because I start thinking about anything but my problems when I walk.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe you're listening to a podcast or something inspirational
To
or really
this
motivating.
podcast.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and you get to choose your music and you get to choose what joins you to your walk. And besides, when you are on a desk or sitting all the time, you are joined by the computer, you are joined by Facebook, you are joined by Twitter, you are joined by the problems of the world, by the problems of your work. But when you walk, you get free.
Yeah.
You get to choose what you think. You get to choose what to decide for about 20 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever you want to walk. Now I'm walking an hour. A month ago, I was walking 20 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and after those 20 minutes, I started sweating. Now I walk a whole hour without sweating. And even I want to walk more, but I know I can't because I have to work.
Yeah.
But for me, I would walk more. uh, it's impressive how the your body and your mind starts working towards your benefit. At first you may hate walking, at first you may hate your lifestyle changes, your health and food choices, but your body adapts really quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, how have you find this adaptation of your body and your mind uh, to your exercise and to your new body, and to adapting to your new weight, because it's difficult. The body tends to go back to their previous weight, to their most comfortable weight. How do you find this adaptation happening in you?
Yeah, so if we're talking about motivation to exercise, I think motivation or like inspiration is different than building a habit. Because if you're consistent, like I'm not motivated to exercise every single week, right?
Not
Like
at
I
all.
have, yeah, or to walk, like none of us is. But it's important to be consistent and to build habits and knowing why you're doing that, of course. So I think if you can put something that is little, like a 20-minute walk every single day into your schedule. For example, most of us are working on our computers or a 9 to 5 job. So if you can just find a time during the day, whether it's like before going to walk, during your lunch break, or after walk, or after your job, like 20 minutes of walking, that creates the most impact for you and the most results because you're consistent. Same thing like if people that are following us are entrepreneurs and they're posting on social media, like you can expect a video to go viral if you're posting one video per month, right? Instead, you need to post, like, for example, 30 videos per month, and maybe one of them will go viral. So that's how you build consistency. It applies to everything in life. So if we're talking about motivation, that's a side. So what I found for myself is that when I stop exercising, I lose all the motivation, all the inspiration. So I
Yeah.
need to force myself to start. And then it's like momentum, right? Because you think, oh, I'm making progresses and also doing the right exercises. Because, like, if you're running and you hate running, of course, you won't have the momentum to run. You need to find something that you enjoy. For me, it's like home workouts and walking. I once was doing ballet dance, but now I'm not. So for others, it's like, I don't know, Pilates and yoga, or I don't know, going on the bicycle, whatever, swimming. You need to find something that you enjoy doing. And I think for the women that are listening to us, the biggest and the best exercise that you could ever do is just walking and building some muscles, whether it's at the gym or at home, it doesn't matter. But just focusing on these two things, because women's hormones are a little bit different than men's hormones. So a man can run and do some cardio and he will be fine. If a woman does that, she will get cortisol messed up. So I'm not recommending cardio. But as you were saying, walking is one of the best exercise that someone can do.
Yeah, and it's a progressive uh, li- likelihood, because you start walking and you hate your first walk,
Yeah,
you hate your third walk, and you hate your 10th walk. But by the 11th walk, you feel, oh, this feels good. And you go to the 12th walk, thinking that I might do this tomorrow, instead of choosing to stay in bed, because I believe that the biggest magnet in the world is the bed.
yeah,
We're attracted to the bed easily, so it's an easy trap to stay in bed, to say, oh, I can do nothing today. If you're not going to walk your same 5 kilometers or your same 3 kilometers, just walk 100 meters,
yeah.
but get out of bed.
Yeah, the little things, like as I was saying even before, like if you cannot like be free during your day, then you're working a 9 to 5 basically, and you cannot experience sunlight. Just open the window for 10 seconds and look outside. right? It's not that you need to be outside for an hour. It's like 10 seconds, 3 times during the day. It's as simple as that. And I think difficulties and like really the word diet, I guess, for people, or like workout routine or something like that, these words have a really negative connotation in people's mind because they think, oh, I have to do a lot of things. Like I have to count my macros, I have to count my calories, I have to weigh food, I have to work out 3 times per week. Instead, just focus on simple and easy things you can do every single day. And once you've mastered those things, then move on to something else, or move on to doing these things more frequently or more during the day. So yeah, I agree with you
Yeah.
100%.
And don't go crazy. Don't try to walk 3 hours a day, because first of all, you will get hurt and you won't do it again.
Yeah.
So be step by step. But one question that I had since the beginning of our podcast, and I was forgetting to ask: you live in a country that has a different relationship with food than the rest of the world, the same as Mexico. There's example the nonna culture that, for example, nonna, instead of giving us a hug, she will give us food.
Yeah.
The same with our abuelas, and we celebrate with food, and we celebrate with carbohydrates, and we celebrate with pasta, with bread. And how do you balance this to not affect you? Because in Mexico, you open the door and you have the street food, you have your grandmother giving you food, your mother sending you lunch, because if you don't eat, you are not healthy. And the same happens in Italy with the nonna culture and the big portions and everything.
Yeah.
How do we balance this?
So, so I think first of all, it's important to set boundaries even with people that live with you, because like if you're wanting to start a new lifestyle, right? It's important that the people around you understand that you're starting a new thing. So they can force you to do something that you don't want to do. So you can talk to them like, hey, listen, I'm starting this. So I would really appreciate if you could support me in this new journey. So instead of cooking, for example, pasta, can you cook some eggs with butter, I don't know, or meat or whatever, right? So like people can support you like this. Also, I think it's important to understand that because you want to build a lifestyle and you don't want to do a diet for like 2 weeks, you can totally have these things in your life. So you can be free to eat basically whatever you want, but it's important to listen to your body, because most people will go, oh yes, I can eat whatever I want because I can eat everything in moderation. But for our mind, when we eat carbs, carbs are really addictive. So it's really easy to overeat these things. So you can, instead of like focusing on, oh, I can eat everything in moderation, just focus on how am I feeling after eating certain types of food. Because if you start understanding, after eating 3 plates of pasta, I'm feeling like shit, right? Then the next, you remember that, oh, I'm not feeling well after eating this food. Then the next day, you're not going to eat that amount of food. You're going to eat less food and maybe something that makes you feel better. So that's, I think, the biggest mindset shift that people need to make if they want to like enjoy these little moments, even with their parents or family members.
Yeah, but isn't it a bit tricky to change that mindset? Because after all, pasta and carbohydrates and everything, it's comfort food, and when you eat it, you really feel good. So how to know
Yeah.
the difference
So
between feeling good or and feeling satisfied?
that's a good question. So, when you're feeling good by eating, actually, first of all, you need to understand if you're using food as comfort or if you're just using food to eat something that you enjoy eating. Because when I was binge eating, I was using food to comfort my sadness and depression and the fact that I thought people didn't love me, right? So for me, I was eating a kilo of bread every single day because for me, bread was like love and affection. So first
Yeah.
step is actually understanding, am I doing this or am I doing this because I just like the food and I want to enjoy that? Second step is actually understanding that you can totally eat these types of food into your lifestyle. And you can also use some hacks that I like to call insulin management hacks, so that when you're eating carbs, you're not spiking your blood sugars, basically. You can eat, like, for example, little tips, like you can eat some veggies before eating carbs, or a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water before eating carbs, so that your blood sugars are not that spiked after eating carbs. So you can totally enjoy these things during the week. And this is what I'm doing even right now, right? So little things like this, but it's really important to understand, if you're using food as comfort, that's not the right way. You first need to fix that, because then otherwise you're gonna ruin your progress, basically.
Yeah, and remember, food is to nurture your body, not to nurture your soul. I know it has social and community components, the food, but remember, the food is to feed your body, not to give
Yeah,
you hugs. Go to
exactly.
therapy if you want hugs.
Yeah, and I think actually, if you're eating the right food, for example, if you're eating animal fats and proteins like meat or grass-fed butter, grass-fed eggs, actually grass-fed cheese or free-range eggs, these foods give you like not a safety. What's the word? Like, um, your satiety, basically. Like the fact that what was the word that you were saying before, which is like not comfort, but you're like fulfilled.
Yeah,
Satisfaction. Right,
satisfaction.
satisfaction.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you're eating these foods, you're satisfied and you're feeling that, okay, I've eaten this, I'm done, I'm full, I'm satisfied. So I'm not bloated, I'm not feeling depressed after a little bit of feeling the love with the food. You're satisfied. It's really different. So you can do this test for yourself. On one day, you're eating the foods that you used to eat, like pizza, pasta, whatever. The other day, you're just eating food that people tell you they're bad to eat, like meat, red meat, or eggs and butter, and see what types of food makes you feel the best. Because both foods will make you feel good at first, but one of them will make you feel sad after, the other one will make you feel thriving. I think the right word is thriving. Yes,
yeah,
so you need to find food that makes you thrive instead of like make you happy for 10 minutes.
yeah. I don't know if in Italy the term in Mexico it's called mal del puerco. In France it's called mal du porc. That when you eat, you get tired after eating.
Yeah,
This is not normal. This is your insulin telling you that you ate too much of something. When you eat, you should not need to rest after eating.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
So
actually
that's
like
yeah.
yeah, it's like the blood sugar that goes up and then it goes dramatically down. That's why you're feeling tired. So you want to avoid this roller coaster with the blood sugar as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the first sign that I tell someone that you're eating imbalanced. That when you eat, after eat, you need to sleep or you feel tired, is that you're not eating balanced.
Yeah,
So that's a trigger that you need to go to a specialist or you need to contact Alice in Twitter. Sorry, in Instagram.
yeah.
So, uh, how have you grown on Instagram and how can people contact you on your social media? Just to well, let me first clarify. I'm not saying that Alice is the only treatment that works because it's different for everybody. I'm not saying that Alice has the whole truth because uh, it's always different truths for everybody. But I'm saying that someone like Alice has been prepared and has lived with the experience herself. So if you want to listen more about her experience and how she manages weight, how do people contact
Yeah, so thank you for the disclaimer. Actually, if you're someone
you?
interested in conventional dieting or therapy method, I'm not the person for you because I'm all about natural healing and stuff. So, if you want to contact me, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, whatever. I'm just called, it's my name. So it's like Alice Veneziani in Italy, in Italian. So you can contact me there, or you can visit my website, which is like ketodito.com. I don't know, I can send you like the link, and if people want to click on that under the podcast. So
Yeah, we will put it here, obviously. So, Alice, thank you very, very much for talking in Platicasdepeso. It was a real pleasure. Grazie mille. And one last thing to say to the people about dieting and loving themselves and loving their body.
okay, so let me think about it. So, as I was saying before, I think the most important part is understanding your situation. So, it's really good to start loving your body. And I think everyone loves their body at some point, at some kind. Everyone loves their body. Otherwise, they wouldn't be alive, right? So, you need to love your body so much that you understand, okay, I have this, this, and this. For example, I'm having insulin resistance, or I'm obese, but this doesn't mean that I need to blame it on myself. I need to take action. And loving your body means you're taking action towards building a better life for yourself. I think that's the best way to love yourself. You want better for you in any kind of way, whether that's leaving your job, finding something else, losing some weight and building a lifestyle, or rebalancing your hormones, fixing your mindset, whatever. You need to love yourself so much that you always want better for yourself. And thank you so much for having me, Trumpy. It was an amazing chat.
No, my pleasure. And muchas gracias a todos los que estuvieron aquí. Nos vemos a la próxima. Y pues nada, sigan cumpliendo sus objetivos de salud, que son estar mejor para ustedes mismos. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Gracias
you so
a
much.
todos. Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Shut up and sit down.